Here we are raking the fire out. The remnants of the fire.
Get rid of all bits of clinker.
A bit of clinker.
Let's see if I can entangle Paul in a nice bit of tape here. Vintage variety this. Been with us for a while. Yeah, I think that's falling off.
Right, there's a mix of fire bars in there, some prefabricated stainless on the left and the old cast iron ones on the right. We're still just getting rid of the remnants of an old fire. Right, I'll let Paul get on with the firing. Right, Paul's ashing out now. He's just waiting for the ash bucket to be returned. Putting the escape pipe into the... What sort of bird's that? That's enough of that. Coaling up. Right, we've got a bunker full now, at least on the port side. The other side's empty. And Paul's still lashing out.
Why don't you tell him why only one side's filled up?
Because that's all we're going to use.
Yep. And we're going out for a short trip today.
Well, 4 bags will do about, what, 16 miles, including light up. I'm going to stop now.
Alright, there we have a nice clean grate ready for the fire to be laid on it. Now on Consuta I normally put some paper over the back end of the grate just to stop airflow from coming up through, because it will burn better if there's no air gap at the back. And then I'll put screwed up paper at the front with all the sticks on board. I'll come back to that in a second. Quite often at the end of a day steaming then you get a bit of unburnt or partly burnt coal, and so this can be reused, and so that goes in on top of the paper at the back there. And here is the bed of paper we're putting in, ready for putting the wood on top. Here we are, all the paper's in. You'll notice I've left some hanging out the front. This is so that when I come along with the matches then it's much easier to light without reaching in. Added to this I'm going to add a couple of broken fire lighters. These aren't technically necessary, but it helps if the paper is a little bit damp, which as Consuta lives outside all year round, then quite often it can be a little bit damp in here, and so just from the general environment. So just sprinkle them about, and now I'll get the wood. But basically I'll lay the wood first of all in a straight pattern over the paper, and then I'll do another crossover to just sort of get a nice sort of covering with plenty of air gaps and plenty of wood. And there we go, all the wood in. You'll notice at the back where I had the lumps of coal sprinkled over the paper, I've put the lesser quality wood just sort of so that will catch eventually when everything else is gone, and it means that the whole grate is now covered, so there'll be no air gaps going for cold air to go through and bypass the fire. So now just got to get the matches out. Right, now we go to light the matches. There we go, one fire lit. Now it's shut the fire door, making sure that the damper is open, and let it take hold. Right, now the fire's going nicely. I've got some wood ready to help feed it as it really takes hold. It's been on the wood for about 2 minutes now, and so now it's time to put the coal in. Basically anywhere where there's flames, put the coal so that you get a good bed of fire all the way across.
So no longer do you go to bed with a...
That's it.
Normally
That's it.
piano.
Oh, is it? Carry on.
It's the large plastic...
Let's have a shot of the fire as it's drawing. Okay.
Oh right, the static.
Okay, I'm
The
done.
trick to a good... And it's been a few minutes now, and so let's have a look at the fire. Oh yes, that's a nice looking fire in there. And so now we've just got to wait for the steam to come up. Don't tend to use the blower because there's no point rushing it. It's a relatively large boiler, so it makes sense to. And put the water in the ash pan, which keeps the bottom of the boat cool and keeps it all under control. Being a wooden boat, you don't want a hot ash pan, so water cool is the best way.
When you're filming,
No.
at the beginning of the day, you put the wicks in, make sure they're all damp with oil, and that will drip feed onto the upper moving surfaces of the engine
Through pipes.
that feed down the side of the engine.
That's it.
And on a long cruise, you'd fill that up to about a quarter to a third, half. And then start the back end of the engine. 2 little oil points on the eccentrics, and then there's on the valve gear, so all the little hole points. Occasionally you have to move the reverser over to get to all of them. Just a little dab on each one. They haven't got much volume, hence you have to do it again and again and again. There's gasket or two on that one.
No, I can't.
A little bit on the start. And working our way up. The little end either side. There's a little oil cup at the sides, at the top of the surf. Top of the curve. 2 little squirts into the back. It goes down on the slide, and that's the oil cup that goes down to the big end. That can fill up all the way down to the bottom.
You will see it better on this one here, actually.
And if you work your way up the engine methodically, you get into the routine and you won't miss anything. So again, get that in. The little end's probably the hardest to oil because you have to get round and find out where the oil cup is. Put in that. And then do the reverser again. Slides down onto the slide. Put a little bit more on that at the start of the day. When you're running along, you probably don't need that. And the last one will be those two there on the eccentric. And basically, you do that at every time you're stopping a lock.
Have you oiled these?
I haven't, at the start of the day, I haven't done the main oilers. And you do that at the start of the day and you check it throughout the day. So there should be some in.
Yeah, do this side. Oh, right.
Working your way up the engine. Make sure the wick is well and truly dunked. And then it's got a little copper wire that holds the wick in place. And you put it down all the holes to capillary the oil into the bearing. And at the end of the day, you've got to remember to take them out, otherwise it will empty out all the oil. Those probably don't need filling up because we're only going to have a short trip today. If you're going to do a big cruise, fill it up. Shall I do the waste shaft as well?
Yes, okay.
Right. One of the position to oil is on the other side.
Oh, I can't get down there. No.
Is probably if you stand over there. There's a little oil points on either end of the waste shaft, which need a little bit of oil every so often.
Within a couple of years, it's all going to change because
Just in there.
withdrawn a lot of the regulation that comes from
The only other thing I'm oiling is down there. You've got the engine lubricator.
Yeah, I think you'll have to do it from the other side actually.
The engine lubricator goes up those pipes there into the steam in, and just gives the inside of the cylinders a little bit of lubrication. Because if you're running a little bit hard, you'll notice that it's washed all the oil out and it will squeak a bit. You just need to get the oiler down at the bottom there and give the plungers a little.
Yeah, let's take a picture of this. This is the engine-driven oiler, which feeds through the small pipes into the steam pipe going to the engine, one for each cylinder. It's driven off a ratchet drive from the engine itself.
Steam, you can open up the check valves for the big injector and for the little injector,
Can't see that one.
which is on the other side.
Yeah, okay.
You've got the auxiliary steam, which you open up at the beginning of the day, and that feeds the valves at the top. And those going across, you've got the pressure gauge telling you what pressure is in the boiler. The big injector steam valve, that's the water into the injector. Most of the time you don't have to modify that. As long as you're over 100 pounds per square inch, that should stay as is. If you go below that, then you'll probably have to adjust that. You've got the blower, which you use or not use at the beginning of the day. Whistle, turns the whistle on and off, and then you've got a pull cord hangs over there, which blows up the whistle. You've got the auxiliary steam, which is for the Windermere kettle and the ejector, ejecting water out of the bottom of the boat, and the small injector that's on the far side here. And finally, on a separate tee, you've got the main steam for the engine.
It's the boiler stop valve, not the throttle.
Throttle's there.
Ah, yes, that's not in view. Yeah, the big wheel on the right is the throttle on the side of the engine. That one there. Yeah.
That's what you control the speed.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
We're going to warm the engine up.
So the first thing you do is open up the main steam. And that's water hammering the pipe. So you crack this drain underneath, it drains out into the ton dish underneath, any condensing water. And open that up, not all the way, and then down a little bit. Just leaving that draining, it's warming the pipe up. Make sure there's no water, but when you start the engine, there's no water that goes into the engine. Very rusty.
Yep.
Right, all. Tell me when you're running.
I'm running.
Make sure all the drains are open, so that lets any water out of the engine that condenses in there, and you slowly crack the main steam, the throttle, to let steam into the engine. It's slowly warming up, won't move straight away, you're just letting steam in, just warming everything up. And any water that condenses in the cold cylinders goes down to the engine drains and then out to the ton dish on the small injector
Into the ash pan.
that then drains into the ash pan. Check which way the boat is pointing, make sure it's all tied up securely before you run the engine. Change the valve so the steam's going on the other side of the cylinders, trying to get it all uniformly warm. And eventually build up enough pressure to actually turn the engine over. Keep the engine revs down. That gives a chance for any water to get out of the engine drains. Again, checking to make sure the boat's not moving, it is secure.
Oh, that's good enough, isn't it?
Is that enough?